In February 2023, 3 adult children received an invitation in the mail that would expose everything wrong with their relationship to their mother. It was a wedding invitation. Elegant cardstock, gold embossed lettering, formal wording. Eleanor Rose Mitchell and Harold James Cooper request the pleasure of your company at their marriage ceremony on Saturday, May 20, 2023, at 2 p.m., Riverside Hospice Care Center, Portland, Oregon. Rebecca Mitchell, 42, opened her invitation in San Francisco and immediately called her brother. Thomas, did you get Mom's wedding invitation? I'm looking at it right now. Is this a joke? Mom's dying. She has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Why is she getting married? And who the hell is Harold Cooper? Their younger sister Lisa, 36, was the first to call their mother directly. Mom, what is this? A wedding invitation? You're marrying your caregiver. Eleanor, 68 years old, weak from chemotherapy but clear-minded, responded calmly. Yes, sweetheart. Harold and I are getting married in May. I'd love for you to be there. Mom, you barely know him. He's been taking care of you for what, 2 years? This is insane. He's obviously after your money. Harold doesn't care about my money. He cares about me, which is more than I can say for my children. The conversation ended badly, as did the subsequent calls from Rebecca and Thomas, both expressing shock, concern, and thinly veiled accusations that their mother was being manipulated by a gold-digging caregiver. What Eleanor's children didn't know, what they'd never bothered to learn, was that Harold had been showing up for their mother every single day for 26 months while they'd visited a combined total of 11 times in 2 years. What they didn't know was that their mother had been lonely, scared, and desperate for connection while facing death, and Harold had provided all three. What they didn't know was that their mother's wedding wasn't about romance or money or manipulation. It was about making a point. And on May 20, 2023, when Eleanor married Harold in a small ceremony at hospice, surrounded by 80 people who loved her, 3 chairs sat empty in the front row, reserved for the children who chose not to come. This is the story of the wedding invitation, and the 3 children who boycotted their mother's last happiness. Eleanor Mitchell had been given 6 months to live in November 2020. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Inoperable. Aggressive. The oncologist had been apologetic but clear. Chemotherapy might extend her life by a few months, but she should prepare for the end. Eleanor was 65 years old. Widowed for 8 years, her husband Richard had died of a heart attack in 2012. 3 adult children who lived across the country, busy with their own lives. No grandchildren yet, though Rebecca kept promising, soon. When Eleanor received her diagnosis, she called each of her children individually. Rebecca, living in San Francisco, working as a corporate attorney. Mom, that's terrible. I'm so sorry. Listen, I'm in the middle of a huge case right now, but I'll try to visit soon. Keep me updated, okay? Thomas, living in Chicago, working in finance. Jesus, Mom, 6 months. I don't know what to say. I'll see if I can get time off work. This is a lot to process. Lisa, living in Seattle, working as a marketing director. Oh my God, Mom. I can't believe this. Are you sure? Did you get a second opinion? I'll come visit as soon as I can figure out my schedule. All 3 expressed shock, sympathy, and vague promises to visit soon. Eleanor started chemotherapy in December 2020. It was brutal. Nausea, weakness, hair loss, constant fatigue. She couldn't drive herself to appointments, couldn't cook for herself most days, could barely get out of bed some weeks. Her children visited once during the first 3 months. Rebecca came for a weekend in January 2021, stayed 2 days, spent most of the time on work calls, left saying, "I'm so sorry I can't stay longer, Mom. This case is killing me. But I'll be back soon." Thomas and Lisa didn't visit at all during those first critical months. In March 2021, Eleanor's oncologist recommended hiring a home health aide. Eleanor couldn't manage alone anymore. She needed help with daily tasks, medication management, transportation to appointment. The agency sent Harold Cooper, 58 years old, certified nursing assistant, 15 years of experience in elder care and hospice support. Quiet, kind, professional. Harold's first day, he arrived at Eleanor's small house in northeast Portland at 8 a.m. Introduced himself, asked about her needs, her routine, her preferences. "I'm here to help however you need, Mrs. Mitchell. Medication reminders, meals, transportation, companionship, whatever makes your days easier. Please, call me Eleanor. Mrs. Mitchell makes me feel old." "You're not old. You're 65. That's young." "I'm dying, Harold. That makes me feel old." "You're living with a terminal diagnosis. That's different. Until you're dead, you're alive. Let's focus on the alive part." Eleanor liked him immediately. Harold came 5 days a week initially, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. He'd help Eleanor shower and dress, make breakfast, drive her to chemotherapy appointments and sit with her during the 4-hour infusions, pick up prescriptions, cook simple meals, do light housekeeping. But more than the practical help, Harold talked to her, asked about her life, her marriage, her children, her work as an elementary school teacher for 35 years, her hobbies, her regrets, her fears. "Are you afraid of dying?" Harold asked one day in April 2021, driving Eleanor home from chemo. "Yes. Not of being dead. I think that's just nothing. But of dying alone. Of fading away with no one noticing." "Your children would notice, would they?" "They haven't noticed I'm dying so far." By June 2021, 8 months into Eleanor's diagnosis, her children had visited a combined total of 3 times. Rebecca came once in January. Thomas came once in April, stayed 3 days, spent most of it on his laptop working remotely. Lisa came once in June, timed her visit around a Seattle work conference, stayed 1 night. Harold had been there 120 days out of those 8 months. Eleanor's health stabilized somewhat over summer 2021. The chemotherapy was working better than expected. She wasn't cured. Pancreatic cancer doesn't get cured, but she wasn't declining as rapidly as predicted. "I might have a year," her oncologist said in August 2021. "Maybe more if you're lucky. The treatment is buying you time." Eleanor called her children with the good news. "Rebecca, that's great, Mom. See, I knew you'd beat this. You're tough." "Thomas, really good news, Mom. I'll try to visit before the holidays." "Lisa, amazing. I'm so relieved. Let's plan a trip together when you're feeling better." None of them visited that fall. Harold increased his hours in September 2021. Not because Eleanor needed more care, but because they'd become friends. He'd arrive at 8 a.m., leave at 6 p.m. They'd cook together, watch old movies, play cards, talk about everything and nothing. "You don't have to stay this long," Eleanor would say. "I'm paying you for 8 hours, not 10. I'm not staying for the money. I'm staying because I like being here. Why? I'm a dying woman who talks too much and cries randomly. You're a living woman who's interesting and honest. That's rare." By December 2021, 14 months into her diagnosis, Eleanor's children had visited a total of 5 times, but Harold had been there 280 days. Christmas 2021. Eleanor invited her children home. "Please come for Christmas. I don't know how many more I have." "Rebecca, I'm going to Mexico with friends, Mom. We planned this months ago. I'll visit in January, I promise." "Thomas, my wife's family is in Michigan. We're going there." "Sorry, Mom. Maybe New Year's." "Lisa, I'm spending Christmas with my boyfriend's family in Boston. It's important to him, but I'll call you Christmas morning." Eleanor spent Christmas 2021 with Harold. He'd volunteered to work through the holiday. "I don't have family in Portland. You're not spending Christmas alone." They made dinner together, watched It's a Wonderful Life. Eleanor cried during the ending, not because of the movie, but because the man sitting next to her on the couch, paid to be there, cared more about her loneliness than her own children did. "Thank you for being here," Eleanor said. "There's nowhere I'd rather be." Something shifted that night. Eleanor later couldn't pinpoint exactly when, but sometime between Christmas dinner and the movie credits, she realized Harold wasn't just her caregiver. He was her person. The one who showed up. The one who stayed. the one who made her feel less alone while dying. January 2022. Eleanor's health declined again. New tumors. Chemotherapy less effective. Oncologist revised prognosis. Maybe 6 more months, maybe less. Eleanor called her children with the bad news. All 3 promised to visit soon. None came in January, or February, or March. Harold was there every day. His official hours were 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., but he'd often stay later. Bring dinner. Sit with Eleanor when she couldn't sleep. Hold her hand during panic attacks about dying. I'm so scared, Harold. I know. But you're not alone. I'm here. Why? Why do you care so much? You're being paid to give me medication and drive me to appointments, not to hold my hand while I cry. Because you matter. You're not just a client. You're Eleanor. And Eleanor deserves to have someone who gives a damn. April 2022. Lisa finally visited. First time in 10 months. Stayed 2 days. She noticed immediately how much time Harold spent there. How comfortable he seemed in Eleanor's house. How Eleanor lit up when he arrived. Mom, are you? Is something going on with you and Harold? What do you mean? I mean, is he more than your caregiver? You two seem very close. He's my friend. Mom, be careful. These caregivers, they see vulnerable people and they take advantage. Make sure he's not after your money. Eleanor felt anger flash through her. Harold has been here every single day for 13 months. He's driven me to 40 chemo appointments. He's cleaned up my vomit. He's held me while I cried. He's cooked me hundreds of meals. Where were you? I've been busy. Busy, right. Harold works full-time and he's never too busy. But my own daughter, who I raised for 18 years, who I put through college, who I loved unconditionally, she's too busy. Lisa left early, offended. Didn't visit again for months. May 2022. Eleanor realized she was in love with Harold. Not romantic love exactly, though maybe that too, but a deeper kind. The love that comes from being seen, from mattering to someone, from not being alone. Eleanor didn't tell Harold immediately. How do you tell your paid caregiver that you've fallen in love with them? It seemed inappropriate, potentially exploitative. Harold was there because it was his job, not because he chose her. But one evening in June 2022, after a particularly difficult day, Eleanor had vomited for hours after chemotherapy. Harold had cleaned everything up, helped her shower, made her soup she couldn't eat, and was now sitting beside her bed reading aloud from a novel because Eleanor couldn't focus enough to read herself. She interrupted him mid-sentence. Harold, why do you really do this? He looked up from the book. Do what? This job. Taking care of dying people. It's depressing. It's hard. You could be a nurse in a hospital making more money. Why do you choose hospice care? Harold was quiet for a long moment. Then, my wife died of ovarian cancer 12 years ago. She was 46. We had no children. When she was dying, she had a caregiver named Patricia. Patricia was there every day. She made those final months bearable. After my wife died, I was lost, didn't know what to do with myself. Patricia told me, you have a gift for presence, for sitting with people in their worst moments. You should do this work. So I did. I became a CNA. I've been doing this for 11 years, and I do it because nobody should die alone. Nobody should go through what you're going through without someone who genuinely cares. That's why I do this. Eleanor started crying. I care about you too, Harold. More than I should. More than is probably appropriate, given you're paid to be here. But I can't help it. You've made these terrible months bearable. You've made me feel like I still matter. You do matter. More than you know. I love you. I don't know if that's allowed or ethical or even makes sense, but it's true. I love you. Harold set down the book, took Eleanor's hand. I love you too. And it makes perfect sense. We've spent more time together in the past 15 months than most married couples spend in years. We've been through crisis and fear and honest conversations about death. Of course we love each other. The question is, what do we do about it? What can we do? I'm dying. I have months left. Then let's make those months count. Let's stop pretending this is just a professional relationship. Let's be honest about what we are. What are we? Two people who found each other at the end of one life and the middle of another. Two people who deserve to be happy while there's still time. They talked until 2 a.m. that night. About love. About death. About whether it was crazy to start a relationship when one person had an expiration date. They decided it wasn't crazy. It was urgent. When time is limited, you don't waste it pretending you don't care. From that night forward, Harold wasn't just Eleanor's caregiver. He was her partner. He still handled her medical needs professionally, but he also stayed over most nights. They'd watch movies cuddled on the couch, cook together when Eleanor had energy, talk about Harold's late wife and Eleanor's late husband, bonding over shared grief, make plans for Eleanor's remaining time, places she wanted to see, experiences she wanted to have, conversations she wanted to finish. July 2022. Eleanor's children hadn't visited in months. Rebecca was busy with a major case. Thomas was busy with a promotion. Lisa was busy with her boyfriend. All three called occasionally, asked how Eleanor was doing, promised to visit soon. Meanwhile, Eleanor and Harold talked about marriage. I know it sounds crazy, Eleanor said. Getting married when I'm terminal. But I want to. I want to be your wife, even if it's only for a few months. I want that commitment, that declaration. I want people to know you're not just my caregiver, you're my husband. Are you sure? Your children will lose their minds. Let them. They've had 68 years to care about my happiness. They haven't. So now I'm choosing my own happiness. August 2022. Harold proposed. Not formally, they'd already decided, but he made it official with a simple gold band he'd bought at a vintage store. Eleanor Mitchell, will you marry me? Yes. Absolutely yes. They decided on a date, May 20th, 2023. 9 months away. Eleanor's oncologist said she might not make it that long, but they'd try. They'd plan the wedding, set the date, hope Eleanor survived to see it. They hired a wedding planner who specialized in hospice ceremonies, chose Riverside Hospice Center as the venue. Eleanor would likely be in hospice care by May, and moving her would be difficult. Decided on a small ceremony, maybe 50 people. Harold's friends, Eleanor's few close friends, staff from the hospice who'd become like family, and Eleanor's 3 children. Of course they'd be invited. Of course they'd come. This was their mother's wedding. January 2023. Eleanor's health had stabilized enough that she was still living at home, not yet in hospice. But she was weakening. Walking was difficult. Pain was constant. The wedding felt increasingly important, a goal to reach, a reason to keep fighting. Eleanor and Harold designed the wedding invitations together. Elegant, traditional, sent to 60 people, including Rebecca, Thomas, and Lisa. The invitations went out February 1st, 2023. Rebecca called first. February 3rd, 11 a.m. Mom, what is this? It's a wedding invitation, sweetheart. Harold and I are getting married. Harold the caregiver? Mom, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. We're getting married May 20th. I'd love for you to be there. I'd love for you to be my maid of honor. Mom, this is insane. You barely know him. He's been taking care of you for what, 2 years? He's obviously manipulating you. He's after your money. I've known Harold for 22 months. We've spent nearly every day together. I know him better than I know anyone, including my own children. And he's not after my money. He's after my happiness, which is something you've never prioritized. That's not fair. I've been busy. You've been busy for 2 years while I've been dying. Harold hasn't been busy. Harold has been here. So yes, I'm marrying him. And I want you at the wedding. Can you come? Rebecca hesitated. Mom, I don't think this is a good idea. I think you're being taken advantage of. I can't support this. So you won't come to my wedding? I need to think about it. This is a lot to process. Thomas called next. February 3rd, 3 p.m. Similar conversation. Same accusations. Harold's a gold digger. Eleanor's being manipulated. This is crazy. Can't she just wait until she's thinking more clearly? I'm dying, Thomas. I don't have time to wait. This is my last chance to get married, to have a wedding, to make a public commitment to someone I love. Why can't you be happy for me? Because I'm worried about you. This guy could be taking advantage. The only people taking advantage are my children who've ignored me for 2 years and now suddenly care because money might be involved. Harold loves me. He's been here when you weren't. That's all that matters. I'm not coming to this wedding, Mom. I can't watch you make this mistake. Then don't come. But know that you're choosing, yet again, to not show up for me. Lisa called last, February 4th, morning. Mom, please don't do this. Please. You're not thinking clearly. The cancer, the medication, the stress, it's affecting your judgment. My judgment is fine. I'm 68 years old. I've been married before. I know what I'm doing. I love Harold and he loves me. We're getting married. Are you coming or not? I can't support this. I'm sorry. I think you're being manipulated and I can't watch it happen. When you come to your senses, I'll be here. But I'm not coming to this wedding. All 3 children refused to attend. Eleanor hung up from the last call and cried for an hour. Harold held her. They think you're a gold digger, Eleanor said through tears. They think I'm senile. They can't imagine that someone might actually love me for me. Do you want to cancel the wedding? No. Absolutely not. I want to marry you. I want to stand in front of everyone and declare that I found love at the end of my life. I want my children to know they were invited and they chose not to come. That's on them. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. February through April 2023. Wedding planning continued. Eleanor's health declined steadily. By March, she needed a wheelchair. By April, she was on hospice care at home, bedbound most days. We might need to move the wedding up, Harold said in mid-April. You're getting weaker. No. May 20th. That's the date. I'll make it. I have to. The wedding invitations had said, Riverside Hospice Center. By late April, Eleanor moved there. Hospice nurses said she had weeks, maybe a month. The wedding was scheduled for May 20th. She might not make it. But Eleanor was determined. I'm getting married. I'm not dying before May 20th. I refuse. Her children didn't visit during these final weeks. Rebecca called once. Thomas sent a text. Lisa sent flowers with a card. Thinking of you, Mom. Hoping you reconsider the wedding. Harold was there every day. All day. He'd become a fixture at hospice, essentially living in Eleanor's room. May 18th, 2023. 2 days before the wedding. Eleanor was weak, barely able to speak above a whisper, but alert. The wedding planner, Sarah Chen, visited to confirm final details. Eleanor, we can simplify things. You don't need to stand for the ceremony. We'll have you in your wheelchair. We'll keep it short, 10 minutes, max. Just vows and the legal paperwork. Is that okay? Perfect. Who's confirmed attendance? Sarah checked her list. 62 people. More than we expected. Harold's friends, your former teaching colleagues, hospice staff. It's going to be lovely. What about my children? Sarah hesitated. No RSVPs from Rebecca, Thomas, or Lisa. Eleanor had known, had hoped maybe one would change their mind. But no. They were boycotting her wedding, her last major life event. They were choosing absence over support. Put 3 chairs in the front row anyway, Eleanor said. Mark them reserved. I want everyone to see the empty seats. I want everyone to know my children were invited and didn't come. Sarah looked uncomfortable. Are you sure? That will be obvious. People will notice. Good. Let them notice. Let them know. May 19th, 2023. 1 day before the wedding. Eleanor barely conscious, drifting in and out. Harold sat beside her bed, holding her hand, terrified she wouldn't make it 24 more hours. At 8 p.m., Eleanor opened her eyes. Harold, I'm here. Tomorrow. I'm going to make it to tomorrow. I know you will. Promise me something. After the wedding. After I die. Don't let my children rewrite history. Don't let them pretend they were there, that they cared. Tell everyone the truth. Tell them I died lonely because my children couldn't be bothered. Eleanor, promise me. This wedding is my last statement, my last chance to show the world what they did, what they didn't do. Promise you'll make sure people know. I promise. May 20th, 2023. The wedding day. Riverside Hospice had a large community room used for family gatherings. Sarah and her team transformed it. White chairs arranged in rows. Flower arrangements. A simple arch at the front. Soft music playing. By 1:45 p.m., guests were arriving. Harold's friends, people he'd worked with over the years, fellow caregivers and hospice workers who knew him as someone deeply compassionate. Eleanor's friends, former teaching colleagues, neighbors, her book club members, people who'd visited her occasionally over the past 2 years. Hospice staff who'd cared for Eleanor over the past 3 weeks. 62 people. The room was full. 3 chairs in the front row, left side, had small white cards. Reserved, Rebecca. Reserved, Thomas. Reserved, Lisa. At 1:55 p.m., those 3 chairs were still empty. At 2 p.m., the ceremony began. Eleanor was wheeled in by a hospice nurse. She wore a simple white dress, not a traditional wedding gown, but elegant. Harold had helped her choose it weeks ago. She wore a flower crown. She was thin, pale, obviously dying, but her eyes were bright. Harold stood at the front, suit and tie, nervous, crying already. The officiant, a hospice chaplain named Reverend Michael Santos, began, "We are gathered today to witness the marriage of Eleanor and Harold. This is a celebration of love, commitment, and the courage to say yes to happiness even in the shadow of death." He kept the service short, as planned. Readings from Mary Oliver and Rumi about love and impermanence. Then vows. Harold went first, kneeling beside Eleanor's wheelchair, holding both her hands. "Eleanor, I promise to be with you for all the days you have left. However many that is, days, weeks, months, I'll be here. I'll hold your hand. I'll tell you you're loved. I'll make sure you don't die alone. I'll make sure these final weeks are filled with as much joy as we can squeeze out of them. I love you. I'm so grateful I found you." Eleanor's vows were whispered, but everyone heard them. "Harold, you saved me. Not from death. Nobody can save me from that. But from dying alone. From thinking nobody cared. You showed me I still matter. That I'm still worthy of love. That my life isn't over until it's over. I love you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for staying. Thank you for being the person my children should have been." That last line, audible throughout the room, landed like a punch. People glanced at the 3 empty chairs. Understanding dawned. This was more than a wedding. This was a statement. Reverend Santos pronounced them married. Harold and Eleanor kissed. Gentle, brief, tender. The room erupted in applause and tears. But Eleanor wasn't done. After the kiss, she asked Harold to wheel her to the front, facing the guests. Harold took the microphone from Reverend Santos, held it for Eleanor, who spoke slowly but clearly. "Thank you all for being here. Thank you for witnessing this. I want to say something about those 3 empty chairs." People shifted uncomfortably. This was unusual. But Eleanor continued. "Those chairs were reserved for my children. Rebecca, Thomas, and Lisa. I invited them to my wedding. I begged them to come. They all said no. They said Harold is a gold digger, that I'm being manipulated, that I'm not thinking clearly." Eleanor paused to catch her breath. Harold held the microphone steady. "Here's what my children don't know. Harold is inheriting nothing. My will leaves everything to charity. Harold knows this. He's marrying a dying woman who will leave him nothing but grief. That's not gold digging. That's love." Gasps from the audience. People looked at each other, processing. "My children haven't visited me in months. Harold has been here every single day for 2 years. My children sent flowers twice. Harold has held my hand through 47 chemotherapy sessions. My children called me on my birthday. Harold makes every single day feel like a birthday by just showing up. Eleanor's voice was getting weaker, but she pushed through. I'm making this statement publicly because I want everyone to know. My children had every opportunity to be here. They chose not to. They boycotted my wedding because they were more concerned about protecting their inheritance than celebrating their mother's happiness. So let the record show. Eleanor Mitchell married Harold Cooper on May 20, 2023. And her 3 children, Rebecca, Thomas, and Lisa, chose not to attend. Not because they couldn't, because they wouldn't. Eleanor nodded at Harold. He wheeled her back. The room was silent, processing what they'd just witnessed. The reception was subdued, but genuine. People approached Harold and Eleanor, congratulated them, cried with them, told them how moved they were. But the real story was just beginning. One of the guests, a former teaching colleague named Marjorie Thompson, had filmed the ceremony on her phone. She'd captured everything, including Eleanor's speech. That evening, Marjorie posted a 30-second clip to Facebook with the caption, "Today I watched a dying woman marry the man who's been caring for her while her children boycotted the wedding. This broke my heart." The clip showed Eleanor in her wheelchair, speaking into the microphone. "Harold is inheriting nothing. That's not gold digging. That's love. My children boycotted my wedding because they were more concerned about protecting their inheritance than celebrating their mother's happiness." The video went viral within 24 hours. By Sunday, May 21st, the video had 2 million views. By Monday, 8 million. By Wednesday, 25 million. Local Portland news picked it up. Then national outlets. NBC, CNN, Fox News all ran segment, "Dying Woman Marries Caregiver While Children Boycott Wedding." The internet did what the internet does, found Eleanor's children. Rebecca Mitchell, attorney at Johnson & Associates in San Francisco. LinkedIn profile, professional headshot, long list of accomplishment. Thomas Mitchell, VP at Clearwater Financial Group in Chicago. Company bio, photo, family details. Lisa Mitchell, marketing director at TechBridge Solutions in Seattle. Active social media, public Instagram, professional website. All 3 were flooded with messages within 48 hours of the video going viral. "Your mother is dying and you skipped her wedding? What kind of monsters are you? Imagine being so greedy you boycott your dying mother's last happy moment. I hope when you're dying, your children treat you exactly how you treated your mother." Rebecca's law firm received hundreds of emails demanding she be fired. Thomas's company faced similar backlash. Lisa's Instagram was bombarded with comments calling her heartless, cruel, selfish. By Thursday, May 25th, all 3 children released a joint statement through a PR firm. "We love our mother deeply. We did not attend her wedding because we have serious concerns about her care and whether she's being taken advantage of during a vulnerable time. We're exploring all legal options to ensure she's protected. We ask for privacy during this difficult time." The internet wasn't buying it. The statement made things worse. Legal options? You're threatening to sue your dying mother's husband. Translation: we're mad she's spending our inheritance on someone who actually cares. Notice they don't deny boycotting. They just justify it. Disgusting. Meanwhile, Eleanor was dying. The wedding had taken everything out of her. She'd pushed her body to survive that one day, and now she had nothing left. By May 27th, 1 week after the wedding, Eleanor was barely conscious. Morphine drip. Hospice nurses managing pain. Harold beside her constantly, holding her hand, talking to her even though she couldn't respond. On May 28th, Eleanor had a brief lucid moment. Eyes opened, focused on Harold. "Did we do it? Did we get married?" "Yes, my love. 1 week ago. You were beautiful." "My children. Did they come?" Harold hesitated, then decided, truth. "No, they didn't come." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "That my last act was exposing my children. That my wedding became a spectacle. That you're now part of this mess." "Eleanor, you did nothing wrong. You told the truth. They chose not to come. That's on them." "Are they upset?" The video went viral. "They're dealing with consequences." "Good. They should. They should know what they did. Those were Eleanor's last coherent words. She drifted back into unconsciousness, never woke again. Eleanor Mitchell died at 3:47 a.m. on May 30, 2023. 10 days after her wedding, Harold was holding her hand. She died married. She died not alone. She died having made her statement. The obituary ran in the Oregonian on June 2. Eleanor Rose Mitchell Cooper, 68, died May 30, 2023, at Riverside Hospice. Beloved teacher, friend, and wife. Preceded in death by husband Richard Mitchell. Survived by husband Harold Cooper, children Rebecca, Thomas, and Lisa Mitchell. Memorial service June 10, 2 p.m., at Grace Community Church. The memorial service was complicated. Harold organized it, working with the same Reverend Santos who'd married them. They decided on a public service. Anyone could attend. Harold wanted Eleanor's friends, colleagues, former students to be able to say goodbye. But he also knew Eleanor's children would come, and there would be confrontation. June 10, 2023. Grace Community Church was packed. 300 people. Former students who'd tracked down Eleanor's obituary online. Teaching colleagues. Hospice staff. People who'd seen the viral video and felt connected to Eleanor's story. And in the front row, Rebecca, Thomas, and Lisa. Sitting together. Looking uncomfortable. Aware that half the room knew who they were and what they'd done. Harold sat across the aisle. Alone. He was Eleanor's widower of 11 days. They'd been married for 10 days before she died. Reverend Santos began the service with a reading, then opened the floor for anyone who wanted to share memories. 12 people spoke. Former students who remembered Eleanor as the teacher who changed their lives. Colleagues who remembered her dedication, her warmth, her humor. Hospice staff who remembered her courage, her grace, her determination to make it to her wedding day. Then Harold stood, walked to the podium, looked out at the crowd. I knew Eleanor for 2 years and 2 months. 26 months. That's not very long. Some of you knew her for decades, but in those 26 months, I learned everything important about her. She was kind. She was funny. She was terrified of dying alone. And she didn't deserve to feel forgotten. He paused, composing himself. Eleanor and I got married 10 days before she died. Some people thought that was crazy. Why get married when you're dying? But Eleanor wanted it. She wanted a wedding. She wanted to declare, publicly, that she'd found love, that she mattered to someone, that her life wasn't over until it was over. Harold looked directly at Rebecca, Thomas, and Lisa. Eleanor's children were invited to the wedding. They chose not to come. They had their reasons, reasons they thought were valid. But Eleanor died knowing her children valued potential inheritance over her actual happiness. She died knowing that a stranger, me, someone she'd known for 2 years, cared more about her final days than the children she'd raised for decades. Rebecca stood up. That's not fair. We were protecting her. Sit down. Harold's voice was steel. You don't get to talk yet. Rebecca sat, shocked. Eleanor left a letter, to be read at her memorial. I'm going to read it now. Harold pulled out an envelope. Eleanor had written this in early May, before the wedding, anticipating everything. Harold opened it and began. To my children. If you're hearing this, I'm dead. And I genuinely hope, that you're feeling terrible about the choices you made. You didn't come to my wedding. You said it was because you were protecting me from Harold, from being taken advantage of. But we both know that's not true. You weren't protecting me. You were protecting your inheritance. Here's something you should know. There is no inheritance. I left everything to charity. The house, the savings, the small life insurance policy, all going to the American Cancer Society and the Portland Teachers Scholarship Fund. You're getting nothing. Not because I'm punishing you, though you deserve punishment, but because Harold taught me something important. Love shouldn't be transactional. Harold knew he was getting nothing. He knew from the beginning. He married me anyway. He spent 2 years caring for me anyway. He was there for my final breath anyway. That's love. That's what you should have been. I don't forgive you. I can't. You had 26 months to show up. You visited 11 times total. 11 times in 26 months while your mother was dying. Harold was there 790 days out of those 790 possible days. I hope you learn from this. I hope you become better people. I hope you show up for your own children in ways you never showed up for me. But I doubt it. Some people never learn. Some people are just takers. And I raised 3 takers. Goodbye. I won't miss you, because I've been missing you for 2 years already. You've been gone long before I died. Eleanor. The church was silent except for sobbing, from the audience, from Harold, from strangers who felt Eleanor's pain. Rebecca, Thomas, and Lisa sat frozen in the front row while Harold finished reading their mother's letter. Around them, 300 people stared with a mixture of pity, anger, and disgust. When Harold finished, he folded the letter carefully. Eleanor asked me to read this publicly. She wanted everyone to know. She wanted you to know that your absence was noticed, documented, and unforgiven. This is her final statement. I'm just the messenger. He walked off the podium, sat down. The service continued with more prayers and hymns, but nobody was paying attention. The tension was overwhelming. After the service, during the reception in the church hall, people actively avoided Eleanor's 3 children. Conversations stopped when they approached. People turned away, made their disgust obvious. Finally, Rebecca approached Harold, who was standing alone by the coffee station. Harold, we need to talk. Privately. No, please. We deserve a chance to explain. You deserve nothing. You had 26 months to explain, to show up, to care. You chose not to. Now your mother is dead and you want to explain? Too late. Thomas joined them. Look, we know Mom was upset. We know the wedding thing looked bad. But you have to understand our perspective. We were worried about her. About you taking advantage. Taking advantage how? By spending every day with her? By driving her to chemo appointment? By holding her hand while she vomited? By making sure she didn't die alone? If that's taking advantage, I'm guilty. Lisa tried next. Harold, we know you cared about her. We're not denying that. But the speed of everything, the wedding, the intimacy, it felt rushed. We were concerned about her mental state. Her mental state was fine. She had cancer, not dementia. She knew exactly what she was doing. She wanted to marry me. She wanted you at the wedding. You said no. Those are facts. Because we thought you were manipulating her. For what? There's no money. Harold's voice rose, drawing attention from across the room. Your mother left everything to charity. I'm not inheriting a single dollar. I knew that. She told me that months before the wedding. I married her anyway because I loved her. What's your excuse for not coming? What's your excuse for 2 years of absence? None of them had an answer. Harold continued, quieter now but intense. Your mother died 10 days after our wedding. 10 days of being married. That's all she got. 10 days of being someone's wife again, of having a partner, of not being alone. And she had to fight for those 10 days. She had to push her failing body to survive long enough for the ceremony. She did that because it mattered to her. Where were you? When it mattered most, where were you? We made a mistake, Rebecca said, tears finally coming. We made a terrible mistake. We should have come. We should have supported her. We were wrong. We know that now. Now. You know it now. When it's too late, when your mother is dead and buried and can't hear your apology, what good is now? The 3 siblings stood there, exposed, humiliated, grieving in a complicated way. Mourning not just their mother but the relationship they'd failed to maintain, the person they'd failed to be. Over the following weeks, the aftermath continued. Rebecca took a leave of absence from her law firm. The professional damage was significant. Several clients requested new attorneys. The firm suggested she keep a low profile. Thomas faced similar issues. His company received ongoing criticism. How can we trust a VP who abandons his dying mother? The board quietly asked him to consider early retirement. Lisa's social media had become unusable. Every post, regardless of content, was flooded with comments about Eleanor. She eventually deleted all her accounts. The three siblings met in Portland in late June to handle Eleanor's estate. Probate was simple. Eleanor had been organized. Her will was clear: house to be sold, proceeds to American Cancer Society, savings to Portland Teachers Scholarship Fund, personal items to be distributed to friends, colleagues, and Harold. To her children, nothing, literally nothing, not even sentimental items. The will specifically stated, "To my children Rebecca, Thomas, and Lisa, I leave nothing. They have demonstrated through their actions that they value my possessions more than my presence. They may have neither." The lawyer reading the will looked uncomfortable. This is unusual. Normally parents leave at least nominal amounts to children, even if the relationship is strained. "Our mother wasn't normal about this," Thomas said bitterly. "She wanted to make a point, even in death." "Did you attend her wedding?" the lawyer asked. "No." "Then she made her point." The house sold for $485,000. Added to Eleanor's savings and life insurance, the total estate was $612,000, all to charity. Rebecca, Thomas, and Lisa received paperwork showing exactly where their mother's money went. Every dollar accounted for. Every dollar away from them. Harold, meanwhile, was processing his own grief. He'd been with Eleanor constantly for 2 years. Now she was gone. The house he'd spent so much time in was sold. The routines they'd built were obsolete. He was a widower after 10 days of marriage. He kept working as a caregiver. Took a new client in July, another terminal patient, another family not showing up. The parallels were haunting. One evening in August 2023, 3 months after Eleanor's death, Harold received an email from Rebecca. "Harold, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need to say it. You were right about everything. We abandoned our mother. We prioritized our own lives, our own comfort, our own excuses. We told ourselves we were busy, we'd visit later." She understood. "We lied to ourselves." The viral video, the memorial service, Mom's letter, all of it destroyed us. Professionally, socially, personally. But we deserved it. We deserved every bit of public shame. We deserved to be exposed. I've been in therapy since June, trying to understand how I became someone who could abandon a dying parent. My therapist says it's about avoidance, about being unable to handle death, about prioritizing comfort over duty. Those are explanations, not excuses. There are no excuses. I'm writing because I want you to know, you gave our mother something we couldn't. Presence. Consistency. Love without conditions. You were there every day for 2 years. We were there 11 times. Mom's final letter said she hoped we'd learn. I'm trying. I volunteer now at a hospice center. 2 days a week. I sit with patients who have no family. I hold their hands. I listen to their stories. I try to be what I should have been for my mother. It doesn't fix what I did. Nothing can. But maybe it prevents someone else from dying as lonely as my mother felt. Thank you for loving her. Thank you for giving her a wedding, a marriage, a partnership in her final months. Thank you for being the person we should have been. I'm sorry for everything. I'm so sorry. Rebecca. Harold read the email twice. Felt complicated emotions, anger at the 2 years of absence, sympathy for Rebecca's obvious pain, frustration that this insight came too late. He replied, "Rebecca, your mother loved you until the day she died. Even angry at you, even disappointed, she loved you. I know because she told me." One of her last coherent moments, she said, "I love my children even though they broke my heart." That's who she was. I appreciate your apology. I appreciate that you're trying to change, to learn, to be better. But you're right, it doesn't fix anything. Your mother died feeling abandoned. That's forever. The best thing you can do now is make sure other people don't experience what your mother experienced. If you're volunteering at hospice, sitting with forgotten patients, that's good. That's what Eleanor would want. She'd want her pain to mean something, to create change. Don't do it for redemption. You're not going to feel redeemed. Do it because it's right. Because people shouldn't die alone. Because presence matters. Your mother was an incredible person. She deserved better from you. But she got me instead, and I gave her everything I had. That has to be enough. Harold. Over the next year, the story of Eleanor's wedding continued to circulate. The video resurfaced periodically, going viral again each time. It became a reference point in discussions about elder care, family obligation, end-of-life priorities. June 2024. 1 year after Eleanor's death, Harold received an unexpected call from a documentary filmmaker named Marcus Webb. "Mr. Cooper, I've been following your story since the wedding video went viral. I'd like to make a documentary about Eleanor, about you, about what happened. Would you be interested?" Harold was hesitant. What kind of documentary? An honest one, about family obligation, about what we owe our aging parents, about the cost of absence. "I want to interview you, Eleanor's friends, hospice staff, and if they're willing, Eleanor's children. They'll never agree to be interviewed. You'd be surprised. Rebecca's been volunteering at hospice for a year. She might talk. Either way, I want to tell Eleanor's story properly. Not as a viral moment, but as a real examination of how families fail each other." Harold thought about Eleanor's last request. "Don't let my children rewrite history. This documentary could ensure that." "Okay, I'll participate, but on one condition: you tell the truth. All of it. The 11 visits in 2 years, the wedding boycott, the letter, everything. That's the only story worth telling." The documentary took 6 months to produce. Marcus interviewed Harold extensively, hours of footage covering the full 26 months with Eleanor. He interviewed hospice staff who'd witnessed the relationship, former teaching colleagues who'd seen Eleanor's decline and the absence of her children. He obtained the full wedding video, not just the viral clip. He got Eleanor's medical records, with Harold's permission as widower, showing the timeline of her illness. And surprisingly, he got interviews with all 3 of Eleanor's children. Rebecca agreed first. She'd been in therapy for over a year, volunteering at hospice, actively trying to become a different person. On camera, she was raw. "I was a terrible daughter. I prioritized my career, my comfort, my avoidance of difficult emotions over my mother's needs. She was dying and I visited 11 times in 2 years. 11 times. Harold visited 790 times. Those numbers tell you everything you need to know about who we were." Marcus asked, "Why didn't you go to the wedding?" Rebecca paused, tears forming. "Because I was jealous and angry. Jealous that Harold had the relationship with my mother that I should have had. Angry that she was choosing him over us. But she wasn't choosing him over us. She was accepting the person who showed up because we didn't. I couldn't handle seeing that publicly. So I boycotted. And I destroyed my last chance to celebrate my mother's happiness." Thomas was more defensive in his interview, but still honest. "I told myself I was protecting her, that Harold was taking advantage, but I was really protecting myself from guilt, from confronting my own absence. It was easier to blame Harold than to admit I'd been a bad son." Lisa struggled the most. "I don't know how to explain it. I just kept putting it off. I'd think, I'll visit next month. Then next month would come and I'd have some excuse. Work, boyfriend, tired, busy. I had 2 years, 24 months. I could have visited 24 times, once a month. I visited 5 times. I don't have an explanation that makes that okay." The documentary, titled The Wedding Invitation, A Study in Absence, premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in January 2025. It won the Audience Award for Best Documentary. When it aired on Netflix in March 2025, it reached 45 million viewers in the first month. The response was overwhelming. The documentary sparked national conversation about elder care, family obligation, and what children owe their aging parents. Think pieces appeared in every major publication. The New York Times, The Wedding Invitation and the Crisis of Elder Abandonment in America. The Atlantic, Eleanor Mitchell's children aren't monsters, they're normal, and that's the problem. The Washington Post, we all think we'd be better than Eleanor's children. Would we? The documentary became required viewing in medical schools, nursing programs, and social work courses. It was used to train hospice staff on family dynamics. It sparked a movement called the Eleanor Pledge, adult children committing to weekly contact with aging parents. Harold became an unlikely advocate. He started giving talks at medical conferences, universities, community centers. Always the same message: presence matters more than anything. Show up. Be there. Don't wait until it's too late. In one talk at Portland State University in April 2025, a student asked, "Do you think Eleanor's children have been punished enough? The public shaming, the career damage, the ongoing judgment, isn't that excessive?" Harold thought carefully before answering. Eleanor didn't set out to punish her children. She set out to tell the truth. The punishment was a consequence of that truth becoming public. Could she have told that truth privately? Sure. But she'd tried that for 2 years. She'd told them she was lonely. She'd asked them to visit. She'd begged them to come to her wedding. They ignored her. So she told the truth publicly. And yes, there were consequences. But those consequences are proportional to what they did. They abandoned a dying woman for 2 years. They boycotted her wedding. They prioritized inheritance concerns over her happiness. The public's reaction is a reflection of how society feels about that behavior. Not punishment, accountability. But they've changed. Rebecca volunteers now. Thomas retired to spend more time with his own kids. Lisa works for an elder care nonprofit. Haven't they learned? They've learned, but they learned too late for Eleanor. That's the tragedy. They're becoming better people, which is good. But Eleanor died without them, and that's permanent. Their growth doesn't erase her loneliness. May 20th, 2025. 2 years after the wedding, Harold organized a memorial event at Riverside Hospice. Small gathering, maybe 30 people, to honor Eleanor's memory and the anniversary of her wedding day. Rebecca, Thomas, and Lisa attended. First time the three had been in Portland together since the funeral. They sat in the same community room where Eleanor and Harold had married. Harold spoke about Eleanor, her humor, her courage, her determination to make it to the wedding. Others shared memories. Then Harold did something unexpected. He invited Rebecca, Thomas, and Lisa to speak if they wanted to. Long silence. Then Rebecca stood. "I don't deserve to speak about my mother. I don't deserve to be here. But I want to say something anyway. My mother was an incredible person. Kind, funny, dedicated, loving. And I failed her. We all did." She gestured to her siblings. "We had 2 years to show up. We didn't. We had 1 wedding to attend. We didn't. We had countless chances to be better. We weren't." She paused, steadying herself. The documentary asked if we've been punished enough. I don't think about it as punishment. I think about it as consequence. We made choices. Those choices had results. We live with those results. But more than that, we live with the knowledge that our mother died feeling forgotten. That's not punishment from outside. That's punishment we carry inside. Every day. Forever. Thomas spoke next. "I retired last year. Took early retirement at 52. Why? Because I realized I was doing to my own kids what I did to my mother. Prioritizing work. Being too busy. Missing moment. My kids are teenagers now. I have maybe 5 years before they leave for college. I'm not wasting those 5 years. I'm showing up. Because my mother taught me, through her absence in my life and mine in hers, that time is the only thing that matters. I learned that lesson too late for her. I'm not learning it too late for my kids." Lisa was last. "I work for an elder care advocacy nonprofit now. I spend my days trying to prevent what happened to my mother from happening to other people. I visit nursing homes, talk to families, help people understand what neglect looks like. And every time I meet someone's absent children, I see myself. I see the excuses, the avoidance, the 'I'll visit next month.' And I try to shake them awake before it's too late, because it was too late for me. But maybe it's not too late for them." After they spoke, Harold stood. "Eleanor would be glad you're here. She'd be glad you're trying. But she'd also want me to remind you, you don't get to stop trying. This isn't a redemption arc where you learn your lesson and everything's fixed. This is permanent work." Showing up is permanent work. You do it every day for the rest of your lives. That's what Eleanor deserved. That's what everyone deserves. The gathering ended with people sharing food, telling Eleanor stories, remembering the woman who'd made her final months a statement about love and absence. October 2025. Harold was at a hospice center in Seattle, visiting a client, an elderly man named Robert whose family lived nearby but rarely visited. Harold had been working with Robert for 3 months, and the patterns were painfully familiar. After his session with Robert, Harold was approached by a woman in her 30s. She'd been sitting in the family waiting area. "Are you Harold Cooper? From the documentary?" "Yes. I'm Amanda, Robert's daughter. I need to talk to you. Can we get coffee?" They sat in the hospice cafeteria. Amanda was crying before she even started speaking. "I've been a terrible daughter, just like Eleanor's children. My dad's been here for 8 months. I've visited 6 times. 6 times in 8 months. I'm 40 minutes away. I have no excuse. I'm just like them." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I watched the documentary. I saw Rebecca and Thomas and Lisa trying to explain their absence, and I heard my own excuses in their words. Too busy. Work is crazy. I'll visit next week. And I realized, I'm them. I'm doing exactly what they did. My dad is dying and I'm not showing up. So change. Start showing up." "I am. I've been coming twice a week for the past month, since I watched the documentary. But I'm terrified I'm too late. What if he dies before I can make up for those 8 months? What if I become another Eleanor story, the child who figured it out too late?" Harold looked at this woman, genuinely remorseful, genuinely trying, genuinely terrified, and felt the weight of Eleanor's legacy. "Amanda, here's the truth. You might be too late. Your dad might die tomorrow. Or he might live 6 more months. You don't know. But what you do know is that starting today, you're showing up. You can't fix the 8 months of absence. You can only determine what the next 8 months, or weeks, or days, look like. So show up. Every day if you can. Twice a week if you can't. Be present. Hold his hand. Tell him you love him. That's all you can do. Does it matter? Does it fix anything? It matters to him. And it'll matter to you when he's gone. You won't have to carry the weight Eleanor's children carry. You'll know you tried. That you showed up when it mattered. That's worth something." Amanda started visiting her father daily after that conversation. Harold saw her there every time he came to work with Robert. She'd sit beside her father, reading to him, talking to him, just being present. Robert died in December 2025. Amanda was holding his hand. At his memorial service, she gave a eulogy thanking Harold, "the stranger who made me realize I was becoming Eleanor's children, and gave me time to change course." Stories like Amanda's became common. The documentary had created a ripple effect. People were confronting their own absence from their aging parents' lives. People were changing behavior before it was too late. By early 2026, the Eleanor effect was a recognized phenomenon in elder care. Hospice centers reported increased family visitation. Nursing homes saw more consistent attendance from adult children. Support groups formed around the theme of showing up. Harold continued his advocacy work. In February 2026, he gave a TED Talk titled, "The Wedding That Changed Nothing and Everything." It became one of the most viewed TED Talks of the year. In it, he said, Eleanor's wedding changed nothing about her situation. Her children still didn't come. She still died 10 days later. She still spent 2 years lonely. But it changed everything about how we talk about elder abandonment. It made visible what's usually invisible. It put numbers to what's usually abstract. 11 visits in 2 years. That's not busy. That's choice. And Eleanor forced her children, and all of us, to confront that choice. March 2026. Harold received a letter from Lisa, Eleanor's youngest daughter. "Harold, it's been 3 years since Mom died. 3 years since the wedding. 3 years since the worst mistake of my life. I'm writing because something happened yesterday that I think you should know about. I was giving a talk at a high school. I do these presentations about elder care and family obligation. A student raised her hand and asked, "My grandma lives alone and my parents never visit her. I want to, but I don't have a car and I'm only 16. What should I do?" I told her, "Take the bus, ride your bike, walk if you have to, but go. Visit her. Don't be like me. Don't wait until it's too late." After the presentation, she came up to me with tears in her eyes. "You're one of Eleanor's daughters, the ones who didn't go to the wedding. I've seen the documentary like 5 times. I can't believe you're here, telling us not to make your mistake." I told her, "That's exactly why I'm here. To make sure my mother's loneliness means something. To make sure other people's grandmothers don't die feeling forgotten." She hugged me. This 16-year-old stranger hugged me and said, "Your mom would be proud you're doing this." I don't know if that's true. I don't know if mom would be proud or if she'd still be angry. But I'm trying. Every day. I'm trying to turn the worst thing I've ever done into something that prevents other people from doing the same thing. Thank you for loving my mother. Thank you for giving her a wedding. Thank you for making sure her story was told. I will carry the weight of what I did for the rest of my life. But maybe that weight can be useful. Maybe it can be the thing that makes me push harder, speak louder, show up more consistently for the work of preventing elder loneliness. Mom died 3 years ago, but her story is still saving people. That has to count for something. "Lisa," Harold replied. "Lisa, Eleanor would be proud. Not because you've earned forgiveness, she made clear you haven't, but because you're using your failure to prevent others' failures. That's meaningful. Keep doing the talks. Keep telling the story. Keep being honest about what you did wrong. That honesty is what makes the message land. And Lisa, visit your father's grave. I know you haven't been." I asked the cemetery. Richard died in 2012. You've visited his grave twice in 14 years. Eleanor's buried next to him now. Go visit them. Bring flowers. Sit with them. Tell them you're sorry. Tell them you're trying. You can't fix what you did to Eleanor, but you can honor her by ensuring other daughters don't make your mistakes. Harold, April 2026. Harold was offered a position as elder care advocate at the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization. He'd be traveling, giving talks, training staff, working with families. He'd be doing Eleanor's work, making sure people understand the cost of absence. He accepted. His first official talk was at a conference in Portland. 300 hospice professionals. Harold stood at the podium and began. 3 years ago, I married a woman who had been given 6 months to live. We'd been together for 2 years, caregiver and patient, then friends, then partners, then husband and wife. We were married for 10 days before she died. Some people thought it was pointless. Why get married when you're dying? Why make it official when time is so short? But Eleanor understood something. Declarations matter. Public statements matter. Standing in front of people you love and saying, "This is who I choose. This is what matters. This is my truth." That matters. Eleanor's wedding wasn't pointless. It was the most important thing she did in her final months. It was her statement. I deserve love. I deserve celebration. I deserve to have my worth acknowledged even while dying. And it was her challenge to her children. Will you show up for me? Will you put aside your concerns and judgments and be here for my happiness? Or will you choose absence again? They chose absence, and the world watched. And because the world watched, thousands of other children have chosen presence, have chosen to show up, have chosen to not become Eleanor's children. That's Eleanor's legacy. Not the 11 visits or the empty chairs or the viral video. Her legacy is the people who changed because of her story. The Amandas who woke up before it was too late. The Rebeccas who are trying to prevent others from making their mistakes. Eleanor died lonely, but she didn't die meaningless. And that's what I want you to take from this. Every patient you care for has a story. Every absent family member has reasons. Your job isn't to judge those reasons. Your job is to make visible the cost of those reasons. To help families understand what they're choosing when they choose not to show up. Because sometimes people need to see the numbers. 11 visits in 2 years. 790 days of presence from a stranger versus 11 days from 3 children. Those numbers tell a story. Tell that story. Make absence visible. And maybe we prevent the next Eleanor. The room stood and applauded for 5 minutes. May 20th, 2030. 7 years after the wedding. Harold was 66 years old, still working as an elder care advocate, though less intensely now. He'd trained hundreds of caregivers, spoken at countless conferences, helped shape national policy on elder care standards. He'd never remarried. People asked occasionally, and his answer was always the same. I was married for 10 days. That was enough. Eleanor was enough. Every May 20th, Harold visited Eleanor's grave. Today was no different. The cemetery was quiet. Harold brought flowers, peonies, Eleanor's favorite, sat on the grass beside the headstone. Eleanor Rose Mitchell Cooper, 1955 to 2023, beloved teacher, wife, friend who taught us that presence matters. Harold had chosen the epitaph. Simple, true. The message Eleanor had spent her final months trying to communicate. Hey, love. 7 years. Can you believe it? 7 years since you forced me to hold that microphone while you told the world your children didn't come to our wedding. 7 years since you made the statement that changed everything. The documentary's still circulating. They added it to high school curricula last year, part of health classes about family relationships. Teenagers are watching our wedding video, learning about absence and presence, using your story to understand what they owe their own parents someday. Rebecca's still volunteering. 6 years now. She sits with dying people who have no one. She's become good at it. Gentle. Present. She's the daughter she should have been for you, just for other people's parents. Thomas retired early. Spends his time with his kids. Coaches their soccer teams. Shows up for everything. His oldest daughter is in college now. She's studying social work because of your story. Because Thomas told her about you. About what he did wrong, about what showing up actually means. Lisa runs that nonprofit. It's grown to 12 states. They have a program called the Eleanor Initiative, matching volunteers with isolated elderly people. Last year they facilitated 50,000 visits. 50,000 times someone showed up for someone who was lonely. Because of you, your children learned. Too late for you, but not too late for thousands of other parents. That has to count for something. I'm tired, Eleanor. 66 feels old. Maybe because I spent 2 years watching you die, watching the timeline of terminal illness, understanding that time is finite and precious and runs out faster than we think. But I'm not lonely. You taught me what loneliness looks like, and I'm determined to never be that lonely. I have friends. I have work that matters. I have purpose. I show up for people, just like I showed up for you. Just like you showed me that showing up is everything. I miss you. I miss your laugh, your stubbornness, your determination to make it to that wedding day even when your body was failing. You were extraordinary, and I got 10 days of being married to you. 10 days. But they were 10 good days. 10 days when you weren't alone. 10 days when you were celebrated. 10 days when you were loved exactly as you deserved. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for trusting me with your final chapter. Thank you for making me part of the statement. I'm proud of what we did together. Proud of the wedding. Proud of the speech. Proud of the truth we told. I'll keep telling it. Your story. Our story. The story of presence and absence and what we owe each other. I love you. I'll always love you. See you next year. Harold stood, touched the headstone, walked back to his car. As he drove away from the cemetery, his phone rang. A hospice center in Beaverton. A new client. Terminal diagnosis. Family not showing up. Could Harold help? I'll be there tomorrow morning, Harold said. 8 a.m. Because that's what Eleanor had taught him. That's what their story meant. Show up. Be present. Make sure people don't die alone. Harold would do this work until he couldn't anymore. Would show up for strangers the way he'd shown up for Eleanor. Would be the person families should be, but often aren't. That evening, Harold attended a benefit dinner for elder care advocacy. 500 people. fundraising for hospice centers, for caregiver training, for family support programs. During the program, they showed a tribute video. Images from the past 7 years, families reconciling, children visiting parents more consistently, elderly people with companions who'd been isolated before. Statistics showing decreased elder loneliness, increased family engagement, improved quality of life for terminal patients. And at the center of the video, Eleanor. Her wedding photo. Her sitting in her wheelchair, speaking into the microphone, making her statement. The 3 empty chairs with their reserved cards. The video's tagline, Eleanor's wedding changed everything. Show up. The room erupted in applause. Harold sat in the audience, crying, proud, grateful that Eleanor's pain had created so much change. After the dinner, a young woman approached Harold. Maybe 25, professional clothes, nervous expression. Mr. Cooper? I'm Jennifer. I'm Rebecca's daughter. Eleanor's granddaughter. Harold was surprised. He'd never met Eleanor's grandchildren. None had existed during Eleanor's lifetime. Rebecca had been childless when her mother died. Rebecca had a daughter? Yes. I was born in 2027. 4 years after Grandma Eleanor died. Mom was 46. I was a surprise, but a welcome one. Mom says I'm named Jennifer Eleanor. Eleanor for my grandmother. The grandmother I never got to meet. Your mother talks about her? Every day. She tells me stories about Grandma Eleanor. Shows me photos. We visit the grave together. And she tells me what she did. How she failed her. How she missed the wedding. How she wasn't there. She's incredibly honest about her mistakes. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm about to graduate college. I'm going into hospice care, following in your footsteps, I guess. And I wanted to meet you. To thank you for loving my grandmother, for being there when my mother wasn't, for making sure Grandma Eleanor's story became something that helps people. Jennifer pulled out a photo. Old, creased. This is the only thing Mom has from the wedding. A photo someone took of you and Grandma Eleanor. Mom keeps it on her desk, looks at it every day, reminds herself what absence costs, what presence means. The photo showed Harold and Eleanor on their wedding day. Eleanor in her wheelchair, Harold kneeling beside her, both smiling despite everything. Joy in the shadow of death. Can I ask you something? Jennifer said. Do you think my mom has redeemed herself? She's spent 7 years trying. Is it enough? Harold thought carefully. Redemption isn't something you achieve. It's something you pursue. Your mother is pursuing it. Every day. Every volunteer hour. Every talk she gives. Every person she prevents from making her mistakes. That pursuit is what matters. Not whether she's redeemed enough, but whether she's still trying. And she is. Would Grandma Eleanor be proud? I think Eleanor would be complicated about it. Proud that your mother changed. Sad that it took her death to create that change. But ultimately, yes, Eleanor would be proud that her loneliness meant something. That her suffering prevented others' suffering. Your mother is part of that. So yes, Eleanor would be proud. Jennifer hugged Harold. Unexpected. Emotional. Thank you. For everything. For my grandmother. For my mother. For all of us. Harold drove home that night thinking about legacy. About how Eleanor's 10-day marriage had created 7 years of change. About how suffering, when witnessed and shared, can become catalyst for growth. Eleanor had died lonely. But she hadn't died meaningless. And 7 years later, her wedding was still changing lives. People were showing up. Because Eleanor had shown them the cost of not showing up. 3 empty chairs. That's all it took. 3 empty chairs at a wedding to expose a truth everyone knows but nobody says. We abandon our elderly. We get busy. We make excuses. We promise to visit next month. And our parents die waiting. Eleanor had refused to die quietly. Had refused to let her children's absence be invisible. Had made her wedding a statement, a challenge. A mirror held up to every adult child who's ever said, I'm too busy to visit. And the world had looked in that mirror and seen themselves, seen their own absences, seen their own excuses, and some of them, not all but some, had changed. That was Eleanor's legacy. Not forgiveness for her children. Not redemption for her loneliness. But change. Measurable, documented change in how families approach aging, illness, death. Harold fell asleep that night thinking of Eleanor, of her stubbornness, her courage, her refusal to let her story end quietly. "You did good, love," he whispered into the dark. "You did so good." And somewhere, perhaps, Eleanor knew.